Call the meeting to order.
We gotta get you a gavel.
This works.
No.
Okay.
This is what the judge used on Gary Mason, so it works for me too.
Remember when he was mayor? He went nuts with the gavel.
Right the gavel?
You wish you had a gavel. Yeah, nothing I had. I didn't use it as much as Kevin did, but anyhow. Good morning. The reason we're here this morning, well, let's have a roll call. Call meeting order, roll call.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Stengraver,
Yes.
Hinker,
Yes.
Myers.
Here. We need to discuss the fire department applying for a safer grant and possibly make a decision on that. So Pete, I'll just let you run with it. You gave us a good pack of the stuff, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. And I apologize for having to have this special meeting. I didn't realize, I'm still learning as we go, so that's good. Didn't realize we had to have approval, I guess, to apply for a grant. Understanding now that if there's city funds that have to be applied to that grant, such as a cost sharing, that we do need approval to apply. So that was my fault, and I apologize for that, and that's why we're all here today at noon without lunch. But anyway, so with the SAFER grant, what we're looking to do is, I want to make sure that this point comes across clear to, I'm sure this commission understands this, but to the public, any public listening, that this grant is a short-term grant. It only lasts 3 years. It will fund fully if we are successful in the grant application process. We're going to apply for 9 firefighters, so it'd be salary and benefits of 9 firefighters. Once again, that's fully funded 100% for 3 years. At the end of 3 years with the SAFER grant, it is then would be on the city to have found a means of funding fully those 9 firefighters. So this is designed to work in conjunction with the referendum. This is not, the SAFER grant is not a long-term solution to our issues. So I just want to make sure that's absolutely clear. With that, DC Jonas and myself, along with finance department and other people, have been working on gathering the necessary information for this grant. We are most of the way there. The application is due by March 17th. These federal grants are usually only open for a very short period of time. This one was open for a little over a month. I did include the notice of opportunity or funding opportunity for you. As you can see, it's a 89-page document that basically spells out what they want to see in the grant. Like I said, we are most of the way there. Thankfully, Deputy Chief Jonas has already done a mock SAFER grant, has written a lot of the narratives for one of his master's degree classes that he's currently attending. So timing was perfect for this. So with that, I laid out, there's 4 different outcomes, obviously, that can happen with the combination of the referendum and the SAFER grant. If we are successful, both with the referendum, if that passes, and successful with the SAFER grant, that opens up the door as a potential opportunity to reduce costs to the taxpayer for a period of 3 years, as those 9 firefighters will be fully funded under that SAFER grant for that period of time. Talking to finance department and city clerk, just because we are successful in that referendum does not mean we have to apply it in those 3 years. So again, we could use this grant to offset some of the burden on the taxpayer. Second option, outcome is referendum is successful, but the SAFER grant is unsuccessful. In this point, then we just move forward with the referendum. We could try again for a safer grant in the coming years. This is a yearly grant opportunity. But once again, the funding needs to be there on the back end for the city. In this case, if the referendum were successful, the money would be there. Third outcome, referendum is unsuccessful, but the safer grant is successful. At that point, it would be up to after this Police and Fire Commission meeting, if our ability to apply for this grant is approved, we need to move this through the Finance, Budget, Personnel, and Common Council. If all that passes and the referendum is unsuccessful, safer grant is successful, part of the grant writing is the city would have to be able to fund those firefighters or find a means of funding those firefighters at the end of that period of 3 years when the funding runs up. We do have some ideas in mind, still building out those ideas, but for additional revenue. But again, at this point, they are ideas, and we have months of work to do to figure out just how those how those revenue sources would work. Fourth option, both are unsuccessful. Referendum does not pass. Safer grant is unsuccessful. At that point, we are where we are right now, in need of staff, and with call volume rising, record call volume. So we need to find other funding sources to add and retain staff at the fire department. One other thing I just want to point out really quick is, especially the public listening, that we're not just sitting idle, relying on one means of adding and retaining staff here. We're exploring safer grant. We've got the referendum on the table. We've got some other ideas that could potentially work in the future. Again, we need to build out those ideas, but right now the referendum is I guess the clearest path towards getting us our staff that we need to add and retain those staff. So with that, I guess I'm asking for approval to move this forward to Finance, Budget, Personnel, and then on to Common Council to apply for a safer grant for 9 firefighter paramedics.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, there are. A quick comment. I congratulate you and your staff on jumping onto this and getting it done. This is exactly the kind of thing that all of the departments ought to be doing when the city is so tight for money, is looking for alternatives, and this is a great alternative, just great.
Thank you.
So I appreciate, as a commissioner, very much your initiative in moving forward with this.
Thank you.
And then, if you asked me, why are you short-staffed? There's no way I could describe that to somebody without talking about the ambulance service. That's a big part of why you're short-staffed.
Absolutely. Call volume, and you'll see that in the annual report coming out next month. Call volume is at an all-time high. As of last year, we ran over 4,000 calls, 4,074. In the same year, we lost 3 personnel. We just saw it today, just prior to this commission meeting. 2 ambulances were out. We have a non-emergency ambulance waiting, and a fire call came in. The station was empty except for Deputy Chief Mueller and myself for a period of time. And Lori, yeah. We gotta get Lori trained up. So that's happening more and more often with the call volume. That is why we need firefighters here to be able to handle this. And in fact, that's not even taken into account. So we had 2 ambulances out, the fire call comes in, there's 4 staff out of the station that left. I think we had 9 on duty today.
That's correct.
So it left 2 engines going, one with 3 people on it, the other with 2 people on it, responding to a potential fire. And that is happening more and more often.
Chief, you know, you give me something and I'm compulsive enough, I read it. If you look, it is clear from these 70-some pages or whatever it is, that they're interested in funding firefighters. And under the list of ineligible funding, it says ambulance services, emergency medical service organizations, rescue squads, auxiliaries, dive teams, urban search and rescue teams, and that's one of the bulleted items. So however you write that grant, you can't say that the reason you need firefighters is because you've got ambulance services sucking people away.
Right.
That's not what they're going to want to fund. So I would just warn you, I guess, having written a bunch of this stuff and been on teams that read grants and so on, be careful how you talk about the effect of the ambulance service on your need for firefighters.
Yeah, and I appreciate that advice, and I think we're already steering that narrative toward the NFPA 1710 personnel.
10 and 20?
Pardon?
10 and 20, both.
Yep. Yep. So right now, as NFPA 1710 states, is that for even personnel on initial, and this is just initial response to a room and contents fire, we should have 14 people, 15 people if we're operating a truck, which we do. Our maximum staff right now is 11. So I think we formed that narrative toward that NFPA 1710 standard, and that's not even taking into account, that's just a room and contents fire. If personnel ramps up from that point on, that's just initial response. So I think we have a valid argument.
Well, yeah, and it's clear that they find those standards to be significant. It's one of the first things they talk about, is that's where they're coming from, is those standards. So no, that's fine. I just wanted to be careful, having been a reader of these kinds of things in past years, that you don't talk about the ambulances drawing firefighters away, because in effect you're saying we need to support the ambulance.
Sure.
And that's not what they're going to want to fund.
I really appreciate that advice. That's great.
That's fine.
That's the stuff we need to hear.
Well, I think one of the driving points to reflect what Andy said and what you agree with is that, you know, we're always concerned about our ratings, insurance ratings, and that relies heavily on the manpower that we have and the equipment that we have and the responses and things. So, I mean, it couldn't be a better opportunity to supplement our department with additional people in order to meet those objectives of maybe getting better insurance rates for businesses and residents in the community.
Right.
I'm a history buff, and I have to work on the history of the department right now for a presentation. I've come across stuff back in the 50s and 60s where they were so grateful to have a rating of 4. And we'd be happy to get a 2 right now, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are on the cusp of getting
and it's all for the better for everybody. And it'd be very easy to gear this thing towards firefighters, and we happen to supplement firefighters with medical training as well, cross-train them. So because we do that, it shouldn't be a crutch as far as going for additional firefighters. In my mind.
Have you seen Wausau got a SAFER grant, right?
Yes.
Have you seen their application there?
Maybe. Yes. We have. Yeah, I've been in contact with him, and yeah, we've That's the great thing about the fire service is that everybody's willing to help each other out. So
Yeah. No, that's fine.
one quick call and email up there, we got it within a day. So
Yeah. And that's helpful, you know, you don't copy it word for word, but you get an orientation and you get a sense of the direction, the arguments they use that were successful. That's a good thing.
absolutely, Chief Bartek did a really good job on his, and obviously did successful.
Good.
Well, it's interesting too that Jonas, firefighter Jonah, he had as part of his training that we helped provide,
Yep.
happened to have a lot of the footwork done already with this for you, so.
Great. His master's degree class A just finished that class last fall too, so it's all fresh, which is great.
Always happy to provide that.
Motion's on the table.
Any more discussion, questions?
Yeah, just
Okay.
follow up some of the things here. Having been involved in grant process, I know how much work there is to write a good grant. And I certainly appreciate all of the effort that went into doing this. It's not easy. If you look on page 3 of the packet, go down to item number 10, right in the middle. I think this is a key selling point to groups that are above us in the decision making. The SAFER program provides funding to help communities meet industry minimum standards and attain 24-hour staffing to provide adequate fire protection for fire and fire-related hazards, and to fulfill traditional missions of the fire department. But the first part is industry standards, and we all know we're not close. I think that is very important as a selling point to finance budget personnel and the Common Council. I do appreciate your listing of options here. I think that's very good. It makes it easy to understand. And given the current state of affairs with finances, if we are successful, that certainly gives the council 3 years planning time.
Yeah, it'd be a blessing all around, so. Okay, any other questions or comments?
All of this is submitted electronically, right?
Yes.
Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Pinker,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Go forward.
Is there any other business for the commission? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.